Honda CMX500 Rebel 2020 test. There really isn't a big variety when it comes to the A2 cruiser field, but despite the lack of competition, Honda is bringing out a new edition of the Rebel in 2020. What's new, and where is the Rebel in the Rebel? Since the earliest days of the motorcycle, bikers have had a certain rebel image. Daredevils, troublemakers, tough guys on powerful bikes. Just rebels. The Honda CMX500 Rebel at least hints at this cliché with its name. And what else? Is it otherwise also rebellious? Hondas are not exactly known for their daredevil, wild character. Reliable, accessible and controllable, these are the more typical Japanese qualities. Among Honda engineers, there are probably more people wearing glasses than owners of proud mustaches and patched leather jackets. So where is the Rebel in the Rebel? Certainly not in the engine. The liquid-cooled inline two-cylinder with 471 cubic capacity is the same engine as that of the CBR 500R. Actually paradox that a super sports bike modeled on the Fireblade shares the engine with the cruiser. But by revising the engine tuning, fuel injection system and ignition sequence, the cruiser character of the engine could be emphasized. The maximum output of 46 horsepower is available at 8,500 RPM and the maximum torque of 43 Nm is available at 6,000 RPM. According to these key data, very similar to the CBR 500R. But the torque of 43 Nm, which starts 1000 revolutions earlier on the Rebel, already gives an indication of the character of the unit. The focus of the engine tuning has been noticeably placed on the lower two-thirds of the rev range. The Rebel pushes pleasantly powerful and evenly from the bottom. Even in the mid-range, the Rebel is still pushing forward well, only running out of power a bit at the top end. But with a top speed of 155 km per hour, it's easily enough for usual country roads and highway speeds. But even when the 46 horses press full, the Rebel always remains pleasant and easy to control. After all, you mustn't forget for whom Honda designed the Rebel. Contrary to its rebellious name, it should rather be a chopper for every man and woman. The 191 kilograms can be moved easily, and with a seat height of only 690 mm, even Joe Dalton comes safely to the ground. So here too, the Rebel proves to be anything but rebellious. But visually, that's where the Rebel gets serious. A black painted engine, exposed tubular frame and matte black tank and fenders give it a grim look. The all-round renewed lighting elements, now all LED. And the revised, semi-circular display with gear indicator give it yet another modern touch. The Barber look is completed by the fat tires. With 150/80/16 at the rear and a mighty 130/90/16 at the front, it's like having inflatables mounted on the rims. But so much rubber is not just for looks, it also improves comfort and grip. The narrow waist, the elongated 11.2-liter tank, and the wide handlebars create a seating position that matches the design. With a straight back and broadly supported arms, you sit on the Rebel in a daredevil manner. The special edition of the Rebel delivers an extra load of cliché and badass attitude. Our test bike was also a special edition model, and the differences to the standard Rebel are immediately apparent. With even more black, it sucks the light out of its surroundings, the headlight is enclosed in a matte black light mask, and the telescopic fork at the front is blacked out and equipped with classic bellows. It looks not only fierce, but almost criminally evil. I immediately had to think of Sam Crow's bikes from the gangster biker series Sons of Anarchy. The special edition 2020 gives an idea of what can be made of the Rebel. It's not for nothing that Honda has incorporated it into its own custom segment. You can really let off steam in the accessories catalog, screw leather saddlebags, fork covers or a windshield onto the Rebel and make Honda happy along the way. After all, customizing not only pleases hobbyists and individualists, but also makes the manufacturer's stock markets ring. Speaking of sound, one of the biggest sex appeals of choppers is the mighty roar, the thunderous rumble from the muffler, which can be felt throughout the body. The Rebel can't quite keep up with this level of emotional sound. A 500 inline twin can't produce the same sound as a 114 cubic inch V2. And on top of that, the new Euro 5 standard keeps the lid on it. Under these circumstances, however, Honda's performance is even more remarkable. The Rebel purrs along nicely bassy and starts to growl angrily under load. The chopper sound is well done and the cruiser flair is more than present. Only the fat roar is missing. Compared to the cruiser segment, its small dimensions also give the Rebel advantages. The relatively short wheelbase of 1490mm, the low weight and the wide handlebars make it surprisingly agile. Quite atypically for a cruiser, you can also take it into the corners and have fun there. The 6-speed transmission shifts through easily and crisply. The engine uses its super sporty genes and revs up well. The brakes are also suitable for relatively sporty use. 46 horsepower and 191 kilograms are no great opponents, but only a 295mm diameter disc brakes at the front. But the initial skepticism about the brakes was misplaced, because the front brake disc and the 240mm disc at the rear do their job more than sovereignly. There is also ABS for emergency situations. This is the only electronic aid on board. There is no traction control, it would be inappropriate for a Rebel. Two Schaaf shock absorbers with adjustable preload provide classic suspension at the rear, and a wide, non-adjustable 41mm telescopic fork at the front. The suspension is clearly geared towards comfort, but does a good job in a somewhat sportier mode as well. It's only when hitting bumps or potholes, especially when leaned over, that you notice that there's only 95mm of travel at the rear and 121mm at the front. So what's rebellious about the Honda? The engine is suitable for a cruiser, but hardly rebellious. The look could be called rebellious or daredevil, but other choppers can do that at least as well. The handling? No, it's too accessible and beginner-friendly for that. The answer to the question is the total package. The Rebel rebels against the chopper stigma, against the engine capacity mania in the cruiser segment, and against the fact that it has to be a 300-pound refrigerator. Versatile, accessible, suitable for everyday use. The Rebel combines Japanese strengths with the cool look and feel of choppers. It's about freedom, letting your mind fly and moving through our hectic world with no time pressure at all. It's about the quintessence of the cruiser movement. Who cares that there is no V2 roaring underneath you? Whether as an entry-level motorcycle, second moped or companion, the Honda Rebel can do it. But there are hardly any alternatives among new motorcycles. Kawasaki's Vulcan S is the only halfway comparable competitor. With the Rebel, Honda shows why small-stroke cruisers still have a right to exist in 2020. Accessible, inexpensive, but super cool, even without V2 bravado. Conclusion: the Honda Rebel is a cruiser. And not just for leather-wearing bikers with half-shell helmets, but also for ladies, for novice riders, for hipsters, for pensioners, yes, actually for anyone who wants to cruise. The essential features of the Rebel fit so well that you simply forgive its minor flaws.